Hi, my name is Ben Jacobs, a member of the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition, and a member of the Osage Nation of Northeast Oklahoma. I'm also a chef and restaurateur, and that's why I'm here today. I am excited to show you one of my favorite recipes. So before we start cooking, one thing I always want to address is that you want to make sure that when you're in the kitchen, you always have clean, sanitized surfaces, especially hands. So I've already wiped everything down, I've washed my hands, and now I'm ready to cook. So what are we going to do today? We are going to do one of my favorite recipes and something that's incredibly versatile, which is basically a wild rice pilaf. Now, why I say it's so versatile is because I'm using wild rice, but you can use a white rice, a brown rice, quinoa, farro, wheat berries. It's your choice. This is my favorite just because it's got nice earthiness and nuttiness to it. So we're going to start there. It's so easy. One pot. We're going to do it in a couple minutes. We're going to add some poblano peppers, some red onions, some fresh corn cut right off the cob, and then right at the end we're going to add the highlight of it all is a dried cranberry. It adds sweetness and tartness and some scallions. So let's start there, and then we'll talk through the process and some of the ingredients as we put them in. So I already have a pan on, nice and warm. I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil, let that swirl around in my pan. We're going to start with our red onion. Get a nice little sizzle in there. So we want to start letting these break down a little bit. We want to pull some of that crunchiness out of the onions. We want them to render down a little bit. We want them to soften. So while we do that, we're also going to add some poblano peppers. Now, if you haven't had a poblano pepper before, it's one of my favorites. It's very similar to a bell pepper, but you're going to have a little more flavor to it. It's got a slight bit of heat. It's not hot in any way. I just think it has a more well-rounded flavor, and I do really enjoy the crunch that a poblano gives. In this, food is about taste, it's about color, it's a beautiful deep green, so I do love that as well. Now, while this cooks, we're going to add a little bit of fresh sea salt, just a little bit, because again, we want to start extracting that water from the vegetables. We want them to start breaking down. We're going to caramelize these a little bit, so this is a really fast recipe, even to the point that you can do this on a high heat. So as those go down, next we're going to do our corn. So we're going to let this cook. We're going to add our corn. So I have fresh corn off the cob. I'm going to add this a little later because I want to retain that structure, and it does have that nice water in it. So I'm going to wait. I don't want that to go in too early so it gets too soft. So as this sits and we wait on the corn, I want to talk about my deglazing liquid. So with the wild rice, I did reserve the liquid that came off of that rice. And so if I want to deglaze with that, I'm going to reincorporate the flavor from the wild rice right in that stock. So think about it as a very basic stock. But what we're actually going to use today is I have a veggie stock, and then I've added some seasoning to it. So within that vegetable stock, I have some paprika, some smoked paprika, and a little bit of chili powder. So that smokiness is really going to open it up for us. So with that, I'm going to add some of this corn. It's got a nice crunch to it. Again, fresh off the cob. We're talking about seasonality. We're talking about what we have access to. If you do not have this fresh corn off the cob, use canned. There's no problem with doing that. And again, the versatility of this recipe is so great. So if you don't want to use corn, you want to use zucchini, you want to use squash, you want to use something else that's seasonal, go for it. I just like the combination of the poblanos with the corn. So again, very quickly, we added the corn. Now I want to add my wild rice. So the rice has already been cooked. So I'm going to add that in. So now we're starting to bring in that earthiness. This is where we start to get into the variation of a pilaf. So now we have these nice colors. When I deglaze here, the nice thing about putting the seasoning in the stock is I have this nice rich stock, but with the seasoning, it's going to just get sucked right into that rice because this rice really wants to just pull the liquid back in. So I'll pour that stock in. So anything that was on the bottom of that pan is going to start to get pulled off and incorporated right back into the rice. At this point, season as you go. So we added a little salt earlier. I'm going to add a little bit more salt now. I'm not going to go heavy on the salt. If we need a little touch to finish it, we can do that. But right now, it's all about just letting that wild rice absorb all the liquid that's in there. All right, so it looks like we're right at the very end. Most of that liquid is now been reabsorbed, sucked right back into that rice. So I'm going to keep the heat on for a moment. I'm going to add my dried cranberries. Now, again, this is where we start to really talk about elevating this to the next level because you're adding, again, just tartness, you get that nice chew to it, and it pairs really, really well with the wild rice. This is where you start getting the beauty in the dish. All of those, again, this is one of my favorites because the wild rice and the cranberries and the vegetables just go so, so well together. So now with that mixed in, I'm gonna go ahead and turn my heat off. So I'm gonna finish that off with some nice fresh scallions. Again, I like that because I want a fresh bite. At the end, you can add sage leaves, you can add basil, you can add spinach. Again, I like scallions at the end. You get that really nice crisp flavor and it brings that freshness up a level. So really simple wild rice pilaf with cranberries and corn. One of my favorite recipes. Again, think versatility, think about accessibility. What do you have? White rice, brown rice, quinoa, it doesn't matter. Get creative, but this is one of my favorite recipes, so I hope you enjoy cooking this recipe or your version. So take care.
Produced by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.